We are 18 miles north of Philadelphia. This is an area of trees and tall grass and farming. This is a that a youngster really enjoys. Boys can run for miles and never step on a main road. All which provide a refuge for the little girl who wants to reflect on life itself.
This is also a part of Pennsylvania's trail of history, for in the midst of this countryside stands a reminder of the past, a monument to the men and women of this area of our country.
Graham Park, located in Horsham, Pennsylvania, has undergone a vast amount of renovation during the past few years. The restoration of this area has been directed by the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. The buildings on this property date back to the early 1700s. They have played host to governors, statesmen, literary figures, and the father of our country.
Although there are only buildings, man-made structures of concrete and stone, they provide the background for a number of exciting events of our nation's struggle for independence. They also serve as a reminder of the men and women who once called Graham Park their home.
History is often written on the pages of a book. Sometimes it is handed down from generation to generation by word of mouth. In many instances, it is carved into the walls, worn into the floors, and etched into the foundation of structures such as these.
Let us take a closer look at Keith Mansion and the grounds that surround it. Let us relive the events of those days gone by.
In the year 1706, a tract of land containing 5,088 acres was conveyed to Samuel Carpenter, a distinguished merchant from Philadelphia. After Mr. Carpenter's death, his executors attempted to settle his debts by selling off parcels of land. One of these parcels, a section of land comprising 1,200 acres, was transferred to Sir William Keith, provincial governor of Pennsylvania. The governor, known for his lavish style of life, met with John Kirk, a mason, to discuss the construction of a distillery and a malt house on the property for the manufacture of alcoholic beverages.
Much of this land has yet to be cleared, Sir William, and the closest road is 4 miles distant. You realize, sir, the difficulty in erecting any building under such conditions.
I realize that, my good man, but I have already provided for that. My council has made arrangements for clearing of a road from the new buildings to Round Meadow Run. This should alleviate most of your problems.
With all due respect, Sir William, I had no idea your plans had included a new road so soon.
Why, of course a road must be put in, Kirk. Would you have me riding and hiking through this forest for the rest of my life?
Why, no, sir. Of course not, Sir William.
I have no intention of making my residence here, Kirk. On this land shall stand a long house, a malt house, and a distillery. My family and I shall maintain our residence in Philadelphia. Lord knows, I should never be able to conduct my duties from this desolate place.
Of course not, Sir William. I beg your indulgence, sir. But your plans call for a malt house of stone construction.
Yes, and a full 3 stories high. Nothing too elaborate, mind you, but certainly construction vast enough to serve my purposes.
Yes, Sir William. But a full 3 stories high, and a great stone house at that. It's just that the time and labor that needs go into such a project, the cost will be...
Oh, hang the cost, Kirk. You would have me construct a shanty or two and call it sufficient. Am I not the provincial governor?
Oh, yes, sir.
Appointed by none other than the proprietary William Penn, Esquire?
But of course, Sir William.
Then confound it, man. Clear the land. Build me buildings worthy of the name of Keith.
And so it was that during the years 1721 and 1722, buildings worthy of the governor himself were constructed on the Keith grounds in Horsham.
Initially, it was as the governor intended. He and his family resided in Philadelphia. But by 1726, the Penn family had tired of their provincial governor, and he was removed from office.
Don't be so hard on yourself, William. You served the proprietary and his family well.
So well, in fact, that they've chosen to replace me.
William, surely you, of all people, know and understand these affairs. Your ability is not in question.
My Anne, that is why I love you so. Your faith in me never falters. Even for a moment, in the face of such an adversity, you alone can see hope.
And as for moving here to Fountain Low, the children and I could not be happier. The fresh air and sunshine will do us all well.
My beautiful Fountain Low. Who would have thought we would ever make our home here?
Beautiful, William.
And I've decided to return to England. Now, not until I'm sure that you are settled here comfortably. Perhaps our lovely Anne and her husband Thomas could relocate here to keep you company.
I doubt that, William. He has so many commitments to his medical practice in the city. But why must you return to England?
We still have friends in London, and they can assist me in making certain arrangements for a position in keeping with our lineage.
All right, William, you know best. But please, for both our sakes, do not begin your journey immediately. At least take some time to rest and enjoy Fountainlow with the children and me.
Of course, Anne. It shall be as you wish. There is no hurry.
So William Keith stayed with his wife and children at their Fountainlow estate until 1728, when he departed for London.
"11 long years passed. Lady Anne Keith and her children stayed on in Horsham, while Sir William Keith experienced brief periods of success and failures in London. During this time, he had been in correspondence with his wife, but had never returned to America.
The year is 1739. With all of her children grown, her husband still in England, Lady Anne Keith meets with her daughter Anne and Anne's husband, Dr. Thomas Graeme.
My mind is made up, Anne. I know how you and Thomas love Fountainlow. So I'm directing our representatives to sell the property to you at a fair price.
Nothing to make us happier, Mother. But why won't you remain here with us?
No, my mind is made up. What few days God grants me, I wish to spend in the city, close to our family and friends. Thomas will have his practice nearby, and you and the children can visit me there.
You understand, Mother Keith, that Anne and I both want you to stay.
Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate your thoughtfulness. But I have been here 11 years now, and it is my choice to return to Philadelphia.
We will visit often, Mother, if that is your wish.
That is what I desire. You and Thomas and your family enjoy Fountainlow. I'm pleased that you wish to make this your home. I should rather the grounds remain in the family after your father and I have gone.
Nonsense, Mother Keith. You're in remarkably good health.
Are you speaking as my physician, Thomas, or as my son-in-law? It's of little consequence. The papers will be ready in a day or two. The Keith property will become the Graeme estate.
Within a year, Sir William Keith died in London. Tradition reports in debtor's prison, where he was placed after a series of financial failures. Shortly after, Lady Anne Keith died in her residence in Philadelphia.
Work began in earnest in Graeme Park, as the property was now called, to renovate the malthouse which Sir William Keith had constructed. Dr. Thomas Graeme realized that the basic industrial designs of the building left slight chance for exterior modification, but his personality was felt in the changes and construction he had ordered for the interior of the building. This was to become the main house of the estate.
A living room was placed on the first floor. As was the custom, a fireplace was included to provide heat. The fireplace in the living room, or parlor, was adorned with imported English marble.
Fine paneling extends from floor to ceiling, giving the room an elegance which few homes could afford.
In the bedrooms on the second floor, handmade Dutch tiles were inlaid around the hearth of each fireplace. The placement of doors and wall adornments was done with symmetrical balance in every room in the house.
Dr. Thomas Graeme and his wife were the parents of 7 fine children. Many of the older children had spent their early years living in Philadelphia. All of them loved the house and grounds of Graeme Park.
Same year that Dr. acquired the Fountainlow property from the Keiths, his wife Anne presented him with a daughter. They named her Elizabeth, and she was the youngest of their 7 children. As the years passed, Elizabeth showed a deep interest in writing and other scholarly pursuits.
Here we come, Elizabeth Graeme. I won, Jane, I won.
You did not. It was a tie. Had I not stumbled on the grass, I would have won.
Oh, Jane, you always have some excuse.
Betsy, you tell us who won. Betsy, who won the race, Margaret or I?
Elizabeth Graeme, are you all right?
Oh, yes, of course, dear Peg. I'm sorry. My mind must have been wandering. Who won the race? What race, Jane?
Poor Jane. Betsy was so enthralled with her dreams that she didn't even see us arrive.
For goodness sake, Betsy, whatever are you thinking about? I just had the strangest experience. I was sure that I saw. That is, I think I saw.
Did you see Jane stumble, Betsy?
I did stumble, and you know it.
All right, then. We 3 shall have a race. Come, Betsy, enough of your book. Race Jane and I to the big tree.
Elizabeth, my dear. No, daughter, stay. I'll sit by you. Elizabeth, my dear, you are every inch the lady that your mother was.
Bless you, Father. I thought you had retired after the last guest had departed.
I had intended to. But first, I want to thank you, my dear. Ever since your mother died, God rest her soul, you have been the hostess of Grand Park. Our guests often remark how much you put into making these evenings pleasant for everyone. It was unfair and selfish, I suppose, for this old man to hang on to you so. Bless you, Elizabeth. You've been a comfort to us all since your mother died.
Well, I could have been here when she died. When I left for London, she seemed in such good health and fine spirits.
Yes, that was your mother. Even to the end, none of us knew how great her suffering was. I am sure she knew when she bade you her goodbyes. She would have been so pleased as I am.
I love this house so, Father. I don't think I could ever leave it.
Not even if some young man were to propose a home someplace else?
There have been few young men, Father, who have met with your approval.
Do you mean that, Hugh Fergusson? You are quite correct. I do not approve of him. His intentions are hardly honorable, in spite of his bearing and silvery tone.
How can you be so sure, Father? After all, we've only known you.
Enough, Elizabeth. We've discussed this sufficiently in the past. You know my decision. I forbid you to see Hugh Fergusson or for him to call on you here. Now I bid you good night.
Father,
Elizabeth, my love.
thanks, my love. You know me better than that. Nothing could keep me from you.
Oh, my darling, why do Father and the others reject my love for you? You deserve the right to share our lives.
Your father has relied upon you for many years, Elizabeth. He loves you, too. No man will ever be worthy of you in his eyes.
You are everything in the world to me. I can't bear the hours that we are apart. I don't know that I could go on living without you.
Are you really sure you feel this way, Elizabeth? We've known each other for such a short time.
What are you trying to say?
Only God knows how much I love you. My every waking thought is of you. There's never been anyone who's ever meant so much to me. But you know what your friends are saying. You are a woman of position. And I, a mere man with ideas. I could never face you if you doubted my true affection. It would break my heart if you felt it was your position I sought, not you alone.
Oh, Hugh, I've loved you since the first moment that I saw you. I know when you hold me that you love is no fiction. What others say is of no consequence.
Then, will you marry me, Elizabeth?
Oh, Hugh, if I could. But without my father's blessing, how...
I am asking you to marry me without your father's blessing.
Oh, but Hugh, what about Father?
As soon as it's fait accompli, I'm sure he'll grant us his blessing. He enjoyed his years of marriage to your mother. He has no right to deny us our happiness.
Oh, Hugh, I don't know.
If you love me, Elizabeth, you'll marry me in spite of your father's objections.
All right, I will marry you, but under two conditions. First, we'll be married in a few days. I want time to pack and arrange to stay with friends in the city. And after we are married, my second condition is that I return here alone and tell my father in my own way and in my own time.
But Elizabeth...
It must be that way, Hugh. You must agree to my conditions.
You are your father's daughter. You are stubborn, you see. All right, my darling. It shall be as you wish. Just so long as we become Mr. and Mrs. Hugh Fergusson.
Now you must go, or Father will say it. Pray miss me, my darling.
I shall. When we next meet will not be in a secluded rendezvous. Goodbye, my darling.
Goodbye, my love. Goodbye, my dearest. And so it was that Miss Elizabeth Graeme, daughter of Dr. Thomas Graeme, and Mr. H. Hugh Fergusson, recently of Scotland, were secretly married in Philadelphia. Elizabeth returned home, determined to tell her father, but her courage faltered.
Weeks stretched into months. Finally, her husband gave Elizabeth an ultimatum. Either she tell her father that they were now man and wife, or he would come to Graham Park and do it himself.
It was a warm day in late summer as Elizabeth watched her father approach the house. She had made up her mind. Now she would tell him of her marriage.
September 4th, 1772, Sir Thomas Graham died in his daughter's arms, never knowing of her marriage to a man whom he despised.
Graham Park and the Keith Mansion now were the property of Mr. and Mrs. Hugh Fergusson. In deference to her grandmother, Lady Anne Keith, many people in the area refer to Elizabeth as Lady Fergusson. Hugh Fergusson became active in community affairs, served as a member of the Hatboro Library Board, and participated in other local endeavors.
The years had progressed. The colonies were on the verge of war as a result of increasing taxation and a lack of representation. A split was beginning to become more apparent in Keith Mansion as Elizabeth sided with her friends who were for colonial independence, and Hugh felt that he should align himself with the Loyalists and remain true to England.
Elizabeth, I'm leaving for New York in a day or two.
New York?
Yes. I feel there's little use in trying to resolve our differing points of view. I have reason to believe there's a position available for me in His Majesty's service.
You going to serve the king?
I don't expect you to understand, Elizabeth. That'd be more than I could hope for.
But Hugh, our friends.
Your friends.
They're our friends, Hugh, and this is our home.
Have it your own way. I expect to be appointed Commissioner of Prisoners for His Majesty's Army. Just as well I leave now and cause you no further embarrassment.
Couldn't we discuss this matter?
There's no need for discussion. I have a mind of my own too, Elizabeth. The ridiculous unification of colonies can only spell disaster. Perhaps, if I serve His Majesty well, when all is said and done, we might be able to retain some of our property. Lord knows there'll be sufficient reprisals once this petty uprising is quelled.
Then I'll come with you.
That would be pointless. No, you remain here. I'll correspond. I'm confident this whole matter will be settled within a few months.
But I don't want you to go. I hate the thought of our being parted.
Elizabeth, my little romantic, it shan't be forever. I should do something as your husband. Till now, I've gained little reputation as master of my own house.
I love you so.
And I love you, my darling. I'll need currency to meet my expenses. Not much, mind you. I expect His Majesty to be generous in his provision for me.
Of course, take what you need.
There's my girl. Well, I think I'll begin to make my arrangements. There are a few letters I have to write and some packing I've yet to finish.
I'll come with you.
Nonsense. Stay here and enjoy the pond. The servants can assist me. I'll see you at dinner.
Oh, my darling. I don't know why I feel the way that I do. But for some unknown reason, I believe that if you were to go now, I'd never see you again. I've heard talk of war. War or not, I don't care, just as long as we're together. This is silly. I'm behaving just like a child. But I love you so. And I'm so...
and her friends prepared linen for bandages for the colonial army. During the long years of the Revolution, colonial forces frequently camped in Graham Park, using Keith's Mansion as their headquarters. General Washington himself stayed at Graham Park on more than one occasion.
Hugh Fergusson wrote on rare occasions and never did return to his wife. He managed to secure his position as Commissioner of Prisoners for the King, but the cost of the war caused him to return to England. In addition to aiding the colonial cause, Elizabeth raised the 2 children of her sister, who had died. She loved her niece and nephew and enjoyed their company. Unhappily, there were no children born to Hugh and Elizabeth Fergusson. While she was surrounded by friends and in-laws, Elizabeth was alone, in a sense. Her family was gone, her husband was never to return, and there were no sons and daughters to share her burden, as she had done for her own father.
Dr. John Watson of Doylestown chronicled the events of Elizabeth Graeme Fergusson's married life in an original poem. She says that the lady took not the advice of a tender, kind parent in what she should do to suit his goodwill in a matter so nice, and the visions of fancy would not bear her through. For pastoral changed to the tragedy style, and taught a hard lesson too late. Though the rashness of youth in folly may smile, yet in tears must submit to its fate. Young Fergusson ran from whence he had came, and a slice of her fortune he pillaged away. Then love, the sly rogue, must bear all the blame, and in his defense had nothing to say.
The war ended, and shortly thereafter, Hugh Fergusson went with the British Army to Flanders. He was never heard from again. Elizabeth had lived a life of service to her father, her husband, her friends, and her country. But it was a lonely life, and every day she waits near the pond for Hugh Fergusson to return.
I know who you are. I know why you came. I'm only sorry that I didn't realize before now. He had his eyes and his mouth. If things been any other way, I would have loved you so.
In the year 1801, shortly before the death of Elizabeth Graeme Fergusson, the buildings and grounds of Graham Park were transferred by sale to Samuel Penrose. Mr. Penrose and his heirs erected another building southeast of the Keith Mansion, preferring to establish a home of their own and maintain the Keith House as something of a monument. There are few records which indicate exactly what use Keith Mansion served in the 19th century.
In the year 1920, the property was sold by the Penrose family to Mr. Welch Strawbridge. It was to this building, the one occupied for over 100 years by the Penrose family, that Mr. Strawbridge brought his young bride. They too chose to allow the Keith Mansion to remain vacant, using it only on occasions for social gatherings. Mr. and Mrs. Strawbridge developed a great interest in Graham Park and read and studied for years on the history of the property.
Mrs. Strawbridge used to conduct tours of the Keith Mansion for small groups of school children. In 1958, the Strawbridges donated the Keith Mansion and barn to the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Society so that it might be restored as a landmark. Restoration has taken quite some time, but the property is now open for visitors.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to tell you some of the things I remember when my husband brought me here as a bride. You know, he bought this property in 1920, and it had been formerly owned by the Penrose family for 100 years. And before that, it was owned by the governor, the provincial governor of Pennsylvania, commissioned under William Penn and approved by the Crown. Sir William Keith, you know, built this house, this old house that we so love, and has been standing here for 250 years. And when I came here as a bride, I heard a lot of stories about the old house, and I read a lot of history about him, too. Apparently, he was a very jovial character. He had, as you know, these lovely long curls on his wig, and he had a very jovial face, and everybody liked him. He was very popular with the people, and when he rode by in his coach and 4 horses and the postilion riders, the people used to wave to him. And he was very fair with the Indians, because, you know, he had to cut the trees down and build the roads and build the house, and the Indians were in the woods hunting and fishing in the streams, and he was very fair with the Indians. And the people were very fond of him, too. He was very popular. But the only trouble was that he spent too much money, and he was very lavish in his money, and also because it was a Quaker community, they didn't like so much ostentation. So he was soon out of office, and his son-in-law, Dr. Graeme, you know, was the next owner of the old house. And he had married Lady Keith's daughter, and she was so beautiful. You've seen a picture of her. She has a lovely come-hither look in her eye. And when I was here, living here, and the children would come from the schools to see the old house, we would knock on the door of the old house, and then we would listen very carefully with spirit-gifted ears, and we would hear, if you had spirit-gifted ears, you would hear, turn the key and walk in. So then we would walk in the house, and when I was married, they gave me pictures. A friend of the family gave me pictures of the governor, Lady Keith, Dr. Graeme, Mrs. Graeme, and their youngest daughter, Elizabeth, Lady Fergusson. And when we came in, all the boys had to make bows to the pictures, and the little girls had to make curtsies. And I would tell them, now we'll go through the house. So then they would be very interested, and you feel a little different because the house would come alive. Those people would seem to be right there. And so we'd go through the house. And then when the children went back to school, home to school, they wrote me a letter and told me what they'd seen when they were here. And they thanked me for coming. And some of the boys would say they like to see Johnny fall in the brook. And another one would say, I saw the old governor coming up between those two trees, and he had on a purple velvet coat and velvet and satin breeches and silver buckles on his shoes. And then someone would say, I heard the rustle of Lady Fergusson's skirts as she came down the stairs. And they all told me different things they'd seen. But you know, when Lady Keith left England, she put in the bottom of her trunk a lot of daffodil bulbs that she brought from England. And when she came over here, she planted them. And every spring, they still come up, the descendants of those old daffodils. And in the front of the house, they're just masses of daffodils. And they're the old-fashioned, fragrant kind, sort of double, with little green in them. And they smell awfully good. And there are lots of, all over this countryside, you'll see those daffodils. There are many of the friends in this neighborhood and all around Pennsylvania, you'll see some of those like wild daffodils growing in the grass. And they were brought by the lovely Lady Keith. But when the governor had to leave this country because of all his debts and troubles, he never came back, but he wrote lovely, tender letters to his wife. They apparently were very fond of each other. And Lady Keith was very carefully cared for and loved as long as she lived by Dr. and Mrs. Graeme, her daughter, and her son-in-law. And Lady Keith is buried in Old Christ Church in Philadelphia. You know that church, 2nd Street above Market. And as you go in the door, you'll see on these stones, Lady Anne Newberry Diggs Keith. And then Mrs. Graeme, Dr. Graham's buried there, but Mrs. Graeme died next. She was 65. And my husband, Welch Strawbridge, had the names cut again so people can read them. The names of Lady Keith and Dr. and Mrs. Graeme and the youngest daughter, Elizabeth, those 4 people who lived in this old house. They were all buried at Christ Church. And then there's poetry on the grave. We didn't have the poetry cut out because that would have been so long. But that you can read the poetry in the church house, in the parish house. They have a record of it. But you see, this is very interesting about the old house because Sir William Keith, who built the house, and his family, Dr. Graeme and their family, were the last to live in the house. Because when the Penrose bought the property, they had bride and groom, Samuel Penrose's son, William, married Hannah, and they built the house that I live in right now. And it was built in 1810. And they lived there for 100 years. And they preserved the old house. So really, the Penrose family deserves a great deal of credit. Because when my husband came, we wanted to preserve the old house too. And we decided to live where the Penroses did. Although my mother felt it was a great pity that I didn't live in the old mansion. But we used to play down there. The children that came to visit, we had all kinds of games. Sometimes Lady Keith would welcome royal personages from England, and we would see all the slaves, the 14 slaves. And there was an old book that had the names of the slaves and all the things that they had, all these things they had in the house, you know, these beautiful linens and glass and pewter. They were all written down in this book. And there was a place where it was cut out, and a little note said, the reason these parchments are mutilated is because some young ladies came to call, and they wanted to make pocketbooks out of the plain part of the parchments. I know this to be a fact. And it was signed Elizabeth Graeme Fergusson.
One final chapter to our story. We are not sure exactly when the legend began, but we are told that Elizabeth Graeme Fergusson has been seen returning to the lake. She is supposed to visit the pond, waiting for Hugh Fergusson to return. Reports of several years ago tell of a strange iridescent specter which seems to be gliding on and around the pond itself. Recent reports, some filed by pilots returning to the nearby Willow Grove Naval Air Station, relate sightings of two strange glowing apparitions. Visitors not only come to inspect the Keith Mansion and to view the pastoral splendor of Graham Park, but the curious come, in the daytime, to see the place where Elizabeth Fergusson returns to await her husband. There are as many who have seen the specter of the two bright images as there are non-believers. If, even as a remote possibility, there were two bright images hovering about the pond, what could they be? What might be the scientific explanation? And if there is no rational explanation, who would the specters be? If the one is Elizabeth, then who is the other?